I Knew a Man by Sight by Henry David Thoreau. UNIT-3, Poem-3, Book Serial Number 6. The poem I Knew a Man by Sight by Henry David Thoreau tells the tale of two men who didn't know each other well at first, becoming good friends. The poem begins by Thoreau describing a man who he sees every day but never really talks to. Later in the poem, they slowly start to become better friends. Let us know about the poet. Henry David Thoreau, 1817 to 1862, was an American essayist, poet, philosopher, and historian. He championed simple living in natural surroundings, which is also the subject of his most famous work, Walden. His belief in civil disobedience influenced Leo Tolstoy, Mahatma Gandhi, and Martin Luther King. Now, let us see the poem. I knew a man by sight, a blameless way, who for a year or more had daily passed my door, yet converse none had had with him. Here, converse means conversation. Meaning, at the beginning of the poem, it is obvious that the two men do not know each other because Thoreau says, yet converse none had had with him. When earlier in the poem it said, had daily passed my door, it made me wonder why the two saw each other daily but never took the time to talk or get to know each other. With the first stanza of the poem, Thoreau may have been trying to point out how in society many people do not take time to nurture relationships that could potentially be beneficial. I met him in a lane, him and his cane, about 3 miles from home, where I had chanced to roam, and Williams stared at him, and he at me. Here, chance means happen, Williams, for a long time. In this stanza, Thoreau describes how the two men, Williams, stare when they see each other next. This made me think that the first time that the two men met, it was awkward and neither men said anything. In a more distant place, I glimpsed his face and bowed instinctively. Starting, he bowed to me, bowed simultaneously, and passed along. Here, instinctively meaning by using one's natural tendency to behave in a particular way rather than by thought or training. Starting, moving suddenly and quickly because of surprise or fear, simultaneously at the same time as something else. Later in this stanza, Thoreau says the men bowed simultaneously and passed along. This is an improvement from the men staring at one another and may have been meant to represent the men making progress in their relationship. Next, in a foreign land, I grasped his hand and had a social chat about this thing and that as I had known him well 1,000 years. Here, social means relating to leisure activities that involve meeting other people. In this stanza, the two men had a social chat, which is definitely a large step up from bowing or staring at one another. I think that Taro again means to show progress in their relationship, but also show how the men officially begin talking openly with each other. The two men have come a long way from never talking to each other and now have a good relationship. Late in a wilderness, I shared his mess, for he had hardships seen, and I a wandered being. He was my bosom friend, and I was his. Here, wilderness means a desert or any other area of natural land which is not used by people. Miss, difficult situation, bosom friend, very close friend. Here in this stanza, Taro says, I shared this his mess, for he had hardships seen. This makes me think that eventually the two men became very good friends. I think that Taro is saying if the men who at first never talked to each other eventually became bosom friends and shared deep emotional things with each other. And as methinks shall all, both great and small, that ever lived on earth, early or late their birth, stranger or foe, one day each other know. Methinks means old English meaning I think. Then the people of today's society need to work on improving their relationships so they do not miss out on potential friends they could have. Finally, I think that this poem is ultimately about friendship. Henry David Thoreau is trying to help people understand how crucial relationships are and how they can be found with just about everyone. In an age of technology and improvement, lesson can be taken from the poem. I knew a man by sight. Relationships are necessity to function and be happy. Thank you.